Ever since the dawn of mankind, fantasy has been a huge inspiration on people and their lives. From the Greeks and their mythology, and the Vikings and their Norse gods, fantasy has been an escape and a magical feature pulling us in, and even making us question our very own existence. So to no surprise, from the 70s to the present, people were creating role-playing games, from Dungeons and Dragons created in 1974 to Baldurs Gate 3 in 2020. For people wanting to play roleplay as wizards, warriors and adventurers, it just came naturally. Even in the 80s, RPGs were being made, such as Ultima, Wizardry, Dragon Stomper and Intellivision's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This was the first time video games were really being made, and compared to today's standards, they just look like pixels on the screen. But it was really in the late 80s and early 90s when fantasy RPGs really took off, with the likes of The Legend of Zelda, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, The Elder Scrolls, Earthbound, Chrono Trigger and much more, that video game RPGs were really beginning to form and rise in popularity. So what makes an RPG great, and what features could we possibly see in the upcoming Sandbox RPG Hytale? Well, sit back, relax and let's get into the video. So what makes an RPG so great? Is it the immersion into a fantasy land, the emotional boss battles, the deep story and lore that keeps you engaged throughout the game? Well, one thing that Hytale could have is gameplay connected to the lore through the mechanics. I mean, take a look at Dark Souls, an absolute art piece of a video game, where the lore runs so deep that even the death mechanic is explained through it. Even the Estus you drink in Dark Souls is explained through the lore. It reveals itself because it's made from the bonfire fire. So, will Hytale's items be connected deeply to the lore as well? Will the lore be so important that your items, magic, dungeons, building materials and mobs have their own backstories? These are the important questions that I hope we find out, because I really hope they are. For example, the goblins. Are they in an abandoned dungeon of an extinct race or faction, or an ancient predecessor who used to own the world but disappeared? Or are these dungeons just here so the player has something to do? Those are the details in lore that decide whether a game and its fantasy is a masterpiece or a mediocre game. For example, the Elder Scrolls lore. In Skyrim, one of the most fascinating things for me was the Dwemer, who are these long lost dwarvish elves. And why they were there is one of the mysteries that you go through when you first play Skyrim. Why were they there? Why have they left these machines? And why are they gone? These are the questions that the landscape and the buildings left behind can really give you. I mean, another perfect example of this is Halo. When I first played Halo, and I walked around and there were these ancient but futuristic landscapes with technology that doesn't look human or Covenant, just left there, and we don't really know why they're left there or who left them there. That's such a fascinating thing that makes you want to go deeper into it. You want to read books, you want to watch the YouTube videos about it, you want to dive into it and understand why are the things there. What I'm trying to say is that it's very important for the world and the scenery in Hytale to represent the lore and the message. Dark Souls is about the hopelessness and the inevitability of death, and you can see that through everything in Dark Souls. The art style, the landscapes, the boss battles, even your character yourself, when you hollow, represents the lore, the landscaping. Everything connects together to show what Dark Souls is really about. And can we expect this from Hytale? Is this something that we will see in Hytale, where everything unites and connects together and really makes the world a real place? Another thing that Hytale can take from other RPGs are things that you can see in both Fable or Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, or a lot of these role-playing games where the games affect you emotionally. They give you partners or companions who guide you or maybe have a small impact on the story, but in the end, they either sacrifice themselves or they leave you. I mean, every time I play Fable 2 and Lucian kills my dog, it hurts me emotionally because you build up this connection with that animal. He's there from the beginning and he sticks with you throughout the game. And you know, every time I wish to bring that dog back when I had the wish choice, because number one, I'm not a monster, but even if I played the villain, I chose the dog because you build up this emotional connection. Now, imagine if in Hytale there's a Quebec who helps you throughout the game, and at the end the Quebec sacrifices itself to save you, or Gaia gives her life essence and disappears after helping or guiding you throughout the game to save the world, or something along those lines. How will the game remind me of this great cause or this great sacrifice that happened? Or will they even have characters that have that sort of depth in the game? It's such a hard position that they're in, because in some ways they're close to Minecraft, but in other ways they want to be different. But how far are they going to go out? Is it going to be RPG enough to give us the illusion that these characters that they build up, like Kairos and Tessa and the Quebecs and Gaia and Farron, are real people who we attach ourselves to emotionally? Because I really hope that they are, because I think that would really build up the story and our connection to the world. When I watched the Hytale trailer for the first time, I felt that the trailer was a statement. It's not trying to be a Minecraft clone, it's its own game. Hytale, it's a tale, a story, an adventure. And the tale is yours to make. It's the player's choice that matters. That is the statement that I was getting. I mean, look at the announcement trailer. For the majority of it, it's about the adventure. Then you look at the thumbnail, and we've seen this picture so many times before in another form. Look at this Skyrim picture, and look at this Hytale picture.
They're the same picture.
Now, you can clearly see that the game is inspired by other fantasies. The Voidspawn remind me of Chaos Warriors and Chaos Spawn from Warhammer. The Gaia statue reminds me of Hylia. The Trolls look like a hybrid of orcs and trolls from World of Warcraft. And that is only the surface. I mean, even in the music, you can hear Star Wars: A New Hope. Hytale feels like a love letter to fantasy, to RPGs, and obviously to Minecraft, but not a clone. It's familiar, yet new and different, and that's something that I love about Hytale. And what's really exciting about Hytale is that it is familiar. I have been here before, but this is in a new way. One thing that I feel that is super important to Hytale is that the choices that you make as a player impact the world. I want my world to change based on the choices that I make in it. If I murder all the Quebecs, I want to see the Quebecs be different. Now, if I went around murdering them all, I would expect them to hate me and kind of see me as this big bad villain. And maybe even their villages, you see propaganda up against you, saying, hey, watch out for this player, he's the big bad guy. And if they see you, they either run in fear or they chase you and try to kill you because you're this monster that goes around and murders their children. This is how they need to see you. But on the other hand, if you go around saving them and trading with them and helping them, I want them to see you as this respected hero figure, where you can really see that they really like you and they've been blessed with your presence. And maybe their technology is better because you're trading with them, you're helping them, and they're given a chance to prosper even more. Choices that impact the world and the game matter a lot to the players. I mean, we can look at RPGs such as Chrono Trigger or Mass Effect, where it felt like that your choices mattered to the story, and depending on how you played it, it changed the entire story and how you saw it. And these games are seen as legendary games purely because they have multiple endings and different choices that really fit you as a player. Your choices mattered in those stories, and that means a lot to the player. So why shouldn't Hytale, this open world sandbox RPG, have something similar? I feel like that if they did, it would be amazing, and it would be honestly genre changing, just because people would be able to really identify with their world as well as their player inside of that world. And again, this would really help the community part of Hytale, because look at games such as Skyrim or World of Warcraft, where you can choose a faction you support and a faction you're against, and these are the things that rally players together and stick in our minds. Are you Stormcloak or Imperial, Alliance or Horde? Again, I would love to be able to have a completely different world at the end of the game to my friends, purely because I might have preferred another faction to them. And really, this is something that would really make the community more fun, because you would get debates over who's the better factions to join, why you should join one side, who's right, who's wrong, how people should play, how people shouldn't play. This would also make the game replayable. It would give people reason to watch multiple Let's Plays of the game to see how other people play their game and what paths did they choose. And it feels different for everyone because people get different scenarios. What if I'm the bad guy this time and kill everyone? Do I start looking evil? Does my world become darker? Is it more corrupted? What happens if I'm super good and everyone loves me and I do things for the right of the people and really making my character the good guy? Does that make me more loved or famous to the NPCs? Does that change the enemies in any way? Does it change the tribes? These are the questions that really I want Hypixel to ask when they're making Hytale, because they talk about RPG elements. How far are they going to go? Are they going to go really deep where you can change everything, or is it going to be little things? This is something that I really want to know about Hytale, and something that I'm looking forward to seeing when the game is finally shown to us. Why fitting into your character is really important for RPGs is the whole roleplay aspect. Something that is vital to RPGs is customization. Whether that's customization of abilities, character lore, clothing or weapons, we all as players want to fit into our characters, and that's why I strongly believe that Hytale shouldn't sell skins, and everything for the character should be customizable for themselves, because in RPGs, your appearance is a part of your expression, is a way that players can really show who they are as a player, and the mechanics of the game should enhance our individualism as well, giving us choices to be something more. I mean, that's something I always felt that Minecraft really didn't have, and that's definition. You are a miner, sure you can go get a skin to make you different, but it doesn't change your miner gameplay at all. You're in this big empty world and everything is just there for you. But I'm hoping that Hytale feels like a big thriving world where you're a part of it. It's a living entity with or without you. You're just there for the ride, and giving players options to either join factions or level up certain traits that fit their identity or role they want would be a great way to create a real connection of the player and the world, and really allowing the player to express themselves in a way that maybe they can't in, let's say, Minecraft. And I hope their weapons and clothing represent that. If I want to look like a samurai or an archer or a pirate, there should be clothes and weapons to support my individualism and my choice. I feel that this is something that Hypixel Studios have thought about and will be a main feature in the game. I mean, we can see people dressing up as ninjas, pirates, farmers and so on. So this gives me hope that your character expression will be a very important thing to Hypixel Studios and Hytale. Role-playing games and their battles can really change an entire game. Again, take a look at a game such as Prototype, which is a real power trip. You are much stronger than everyone around you, and that really reflects the character Alex Mercer and the story of Prototype. Then you can have the total opposite such as Dark Souls, which makes you feel like this weak and small, vulnerable person compared to what you face. And when it comes to Hytale, seeing this boss fight in the trailer is exciting, as I see it as a statement that boss battles will be dramatic and important, which again Minecraft really lacks. When it comes to combat, I really hope that it's fun, and really that is the main focus of combat, that we're having a good time when we're fighting, and that they spend time working on the AI so that each mob adds a different challenge, and so that replayability is really good in Hytale. It's just that when it comes to games, it's very hard to make combat both fun in the start and fresh throughout the game. A lot of times in games, you get bored around the end of it because the combat is so repetitive or boring, especially with RPGs, especially turn-based RPGs. Luckily, Hytale won't be turn-based. One thing that I feel that Hytale has over other games is the building mechanic. If they make a story as deep as Skyrim or Breath of the Wild, and they have it set up as a system that you can go through the game and stop whenever you want to start building in a Minecraft-like way, I think that would be really fun and amazing for the player, because if you get bored of the story, you can just stop and focus on building a house or a castle or whatever you want. And really, that is something that we want from this game, is that adventure side, but also the building side, which we know from Minecraft. I mean, if you look at a game such as Valheim, it does a perfect job of that, where you can go and build your house for a bit, but you can also have this story that you go back to whenever you want. And it really gives the player the choice to really choose whether they want to focus on building and getting supplies, or if they want to go and do the story and fight the bosses. Again with Valheim, is that it's a fantasy world that encourages you and rewards you for travelling and exploring it. Also, the boss battles are really fun and unique, and the building is simple but effective. But the truth is, I honestly think that Hytale could do that even better. Could you imagine if Hytale has a really deep and great storyline with a great building system? Hytale would be genre changing for both sandbox RPGs and survival games. I love the idea of being in an open world game like Skyrim, but being able to build a house with Minecraft blocks. I also love the idea of Hytale being a game with deep lore and really allowing us to really be creative and spontaneous with how we want to play it. Allow me to build a house for 3 hours and then allow me to go back to the story and allow that to develop. That would be amazing. I think that game would just be insanely amazing to play if it is like that. Hytale has large expectations from a lot of people, and the Hytale devs have put us in the dark for quite a long time right now. But this is a good thing. The last thing that we want is to rush them and rush the game because of demand and releasing the game right now. I want them to keep us in the dark and focus on making the game the best it can be. They haven't given anyone a release date or promised anything, and I'd rather them talk to us when they're ready and know that the game is in a state where it won't fail the expectations of the players. I know as a player and as a YouTuber, it can be frustrating waiting for Hytale, as it looks very promising and so fun, and we all just want to have our hands on it. And a lot of us have fears that the game won't be able to live up to expectations, that it will fail. But I'd rather wait to the start of 2022 for the game to release if that means that the game is going to be really fun and live up to its expectations. I'd rather them release it when it's ready and when it's right to be released, instead of them releasing it now with the promise of fixing all their bugs and maybe stuff that isn't ready yet later. Hytale is a game that promises adventure, great building and customizability, and I feel that waiting for them to release it polished will be more rewarding for us, the consumer, and Hypixel Studios than them releasing it too early right now. If you guys like my video, and want to watch more videos from me, remember to subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.